Dear students, today we will discuss anatomy of respiratory system. Respiratory system is a biological system responsible to carry out respiration in human body. Respiration is defined as exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between body tissues and the external environment. These are the main functions of respiration. The first function is transport of oxygen to tissues and excretion of carbon dioxide from the body. Next function is excretion of volatile substances like ammonia. Ammonia is a waste produced during metabolism of proteins in the body. Another function of respiration is regulation of body temperature through loss of heat in the expired air. Next important function of respiration is maintenance of pH of the blood. It occurs because level of carbon dioxide in blood plays an important role in balancing the blood pH. Carbon dioxide in blood reacts with water to form carbonic acid, which reduces the blood pH. Therefore, it is necessary to excrete carbon dioxide through respiration to bring the blood pH to the normal. Another function is regulation of water balance through excretion of water vapor. Anatomy of respiratory system can be understood with the help of this diagram. As we can see in this diagram, that respiratory system is made up of various structures including the nasal cavity, larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles and alveoli. Now let us understand each part of respiratory system one by one. The first part is nasal cavity. Nasal cavity is divided into left and right portions by a nasal septum. Inside the nasal cavity, a thin layer of mucous membrane is present. The entrance of nasal cavity is called as nostrils. Nostrils contain small hairs which act as filter for dust. Next is pharynx. Pharynx is divided into three parts: nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. Nasopharynx lies behind the nasal cavity. It contains opening for eustachian tubes on its lateral wall. Oropharynx has oral cavity on its front and laryngopharynx below. Its lateral wall contains tonsils. Laryngopharynx is the lowest part of pharynx. It is present behind the larynx. After pharynx, the next part is larynx, which is also called as voice box. Larynx is present between pharynx above and trachea below. It is formed by a number of cartilages. These cartilages are thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, two arytenoid cartilages and epiglottis. The next part of respiratory system is trachea. Trachea is also called as windpipe. It is a cylindrical tube which is about 11 cm in length. It begins at the lower end of pharynx. Trachea is made up of 16 to 20 C-shaped incomplete cartilages. As you can see in this diagram, the trachea is not made up of complete circular cartilages, rather it is made up of C-shaped cartilages because esophagus is present behind the trachea and this C shape provides space for this esophagus. Now these cartilages are connected by fibrous tissue at its back. Here the cartilages are connected through fibrous tissue. The inside wall of trachea is covered by mucous membrane and ciliated epithelium. Next is bronchi. The trachea is ended by dividing into two bronchi, the left and right bronchus. They pass through the corresponding lung. So the right bronchus goes to the right lung and the left bronchus goes to the left lung. The right bronchus is shorter and wider than the left bronchus. The bronchus are made up of complete ring of cartilages. Next is bronchioles. They are formed by the division of the bronchi. Bronchioles are the small branches of the bronchi and they do not have any cartilage. Then comes the alveoli or the air bags. They are the final terminations of each bronchioles. They contain a thin layer of epithelial cells surrounded by a number of capillaries. Exchange of gases takes place through the walls of these capillaries. Now let us understand anatomy of lungs. There are two lungs present, one on each side of the chest cavity. Lungs are conical in shape. The base of the lung is present near the diaphragm. Each lung is divided into lobes. The right lung is bigger and has 3 lobes, whereas the left lung has 2 lobes. Each lobe is divided into a number of lobules. Each lung is covered by a membrane called as pleura. Pleura is made up of 2 layers. The inner layer is called as visceral layer, which is close to the lung. The outer layer is called as parietal layer. The space between these two layers is called as the pleural cavity, which is filled with a fluid called as pleural fluid. The medial surface of each lung has a vertical slit called as hilum. Structures like blood vessels, nerves and lymphatic vessels pass through the hilum and enter into the lung. So with this, we come to the end of this presentation. I hope you will find this presentation helpful in understanding the anatomy of respiratory system.